Hello and welcome. You're watching To The Point. For many people, perhaps the most worrying development of the moment is what they consider the rising tide of intolerance, as well as the government's weak, if not ineffective, response. With me to give the government's perspective is the Minister of Environment, Prakash Javadekar. Mr. Javadekar, perhaps 500, perhaps more writers, artists, scientists, historians, filmmakers and scholars have either returned their awards or signed statements of protest against, first of all, what they call the rising tide of intolerance, and secondly, their belief that the government has responded weakly and ineffectively. And these are people who come from all over the country, from all castes, all religions, they speak all languages. Now you have every right as a government to disagree with them. But should you dismiss their protests as manufactured and as conspiracies?
But as you know, Karan, our Home Minister Rajnath Singh Ji has already invited them to give your suggestions. We are ready to listen. A day-long discussion also. So we are not shying away from discussion. We may agree or we may not agree. That's a different thing. See, such spontaneous action. And I was told by my guru that in politics, spontaneous action also has to be organized. But I am going into a more subtle point, that spontaneous reaction of artists and we are taking it very seriously.
You know, you made a very important point, and I agree with you, that on Monday the Home Minister in an interview to the Economic Times said, and I'm going to quote him, "I am ready to set aside everything else and sit down for a whole day with them. I would welcome them to come and highlight the reasons they feel have given rise to intolerance." And I applaud him. But do you know the problem? He hasn't actually extended an invitation. And when the Economic Times said, "Are you going to extend an invitation to these people?" his reply was, "Let my comment in an interview be an invitation." Now, A, that's inadequate, and B, that's probably discourteous.
No, I don't think. Because let us understand that writers or anybody for that matter has a right to have his view, and that view, if there is an echo from the government, so there are people who are already coming and discussing also. So it is not that nobody has come or nobody is discussing. People are discussing.
मगर मंत्री साहब, मैं एक छोटी चीज कह रहा हूं, अगर वाकई ही राजनाथ सिंह जी इनके साथ मिलके एक पूरा दिन काट के बातें करना चाहते हैं तो इनविटेशन तो भेजिए.
मैं बता रहा हूं.
Let me finish. Why is the Home Minister so proud that he can't pick up the phone and ring 30-40 people or get his secretary to do it? Why say to a newspaper, my comment to a paper should be taken as an invitation? That is insulting to people.
No, I don't think. I don't agree with that. Let me tell you, there is always two sides of the story. The first side we have discussed. The other side is country. People of this country are asking, those who are saying today that there is an intolerance growing. So intolerance, first, let me make it clear that intolerance is not in our genre, means in India's ethos. India's cultural ethos over centuries.
But
and civilization.
You know, and I know India has traditionally been very intolerant.
Very tolerant.
The treatment of Dalits is proof of intolerance. We've done it for thousands of years. India's culture has involved intolerance to Dalits.
We have, on the religious ground, the first church of the world came in Kerala because it's the Indian tradition. We allow live and let live.
But the treatment of Dalits is proof of our intolerance.
That is what I am telling you. The injustice done to Dalits. And therefore what Ambedkar ji did after giving full trial to Hindu society. We are not talking about Hindu or Muslim or Christian. We are talking about India as whole. And let me tell you, therefore he accepted Buddhism. And we value his decision.
Let's come back to the issue I'm discussing. I want to talk about the government's response, not to one or two or three, but to some 500 people, artists, scholars, historians, filmmakers. Let me finish. 2 days ago, Shah Rukh Khan, one of the most highly regarded film stars in this country, said that religious intolerance is the worst kind of crime for a patriot. Kailash Vijay Varghya, your party's general secretary, has called him a Pakistani agent. He said he's anti-national. Now, I know, yesterday on television, you distanced yourself. I applaud you for that. But I want to ask you a further question. Would you accept what Vijay Varghya has said is unacceptable and unforgivable?
We have already said it unacceptable immediately.
And unforgivable.
No, but that,
And unforgivable.
Whatever is unacceptable automatically becomes that. The issue
automatically
is...
becomes what? Use the word for me.
No, but why? I am not in an
use
examination.
the word, it's unforgivable.
I will tell you what I want to say. I am coming to a basic issue. Basic issue is that what is the history of intolerance in our country? There are 3-4 major things. Emergency, because we have suffered in that. Jai Prakash was a voice of dissent. Indiraji clamped emergency. Congress destroyed the whole constitution. 1 minute.
And one of the first protesters, Nayantara Sehgal, Indira's cousin, was the first to break with her.
But that is what I am saying.
Her mother, Vijay Lakshmi Pandit, broke the rishta over the emergency. So you can't use that against protesters today.
But I have not heard all. There were many scientists, writers and thinkers and authors who protested against emergency. But there were many who did not. The Sikh massacre, which is the worst, there are 2 aspects to it. 3,000 Sikhs were killed in one city and not a single bullet was fired. That's a collapse of administration, and it was directly central government. And on the other hand, to rub salt to the injury, Rajiv Gandhi, the Prime Minister, justified the killings of Sikhs.
And many of the people protesting today complained about what was happening. Many of them were actually out on the streets of Delhi organizing langars, organizing relief, organizing blankets.
But that's
Have you forgotten? Of course it's good. So you can't hold it against them today.
Who? I'm not holding anything against anybody.
Can I come back?
I am just telling you some instances. Kashmiri Pandit, 1 million Kashmiri Pandits are suffering a fate of destitute within the country and for last 30 years, and we must. So I have not heard many protests.
Javadekar Sahab,
but that doesn't make...
Javadekar Sahab, you're proving my point. You said India was a traditionally tolerant country. I said it wasn't. It's not just the Dalits were intolerant about. We are intolerant about so many things. The Kashmiri Pandits is just one of the latest examples. Let me move away from that.
Yes.
I want to come back to your government's response because you're a government minister.
Yes.
I want you to have a fair chance to answer. You've said Kailash Vijay Varghya's comment is unacceptable. You haven't said it's unforgivable. I hope you will say it. I'll ask you once again. Say it's unforgivable.
It is not. Words don't make things different. I have said it very clearly and instantly, immediately. He is our General Secretary. He is our Minister in Madhya Pradesh government. And he is an important leader. But still, the thing which is not correct, I have said it
so add the word it's unforgivable. It will give people comfort to hear it from you.
See, by saying this is a trap which people are laying, and I don't want to enter into it. Why?
I won't take you down that trap.
Once Prime Minister, no, ministers are not enough. Prime Minister must speak. When Prime Minister speaks, they say, oh, Prime Minister has spoken after a delay. Then when he speaks, and then they say, now you're spoken, now take action.
Let's not go down that path. Let me put something else to you. You've said it's
intolerance towards people's mandate.
Can I put this to you?
It is intolerance toward people's mandate. The way opposition and particularly Congress party is behaving now.
Come back to Kailash Vijay Varghya. What he said, you've accepted is unacceptable. You've stopped short and refused to say it's unforgivable. But let me ask you something else. He's the General Secretary of your party. That's one of the 6 most important functionaries in your party. Should he continue having said this of Shah Rukh Khan?
No. See, everybody, with Twitter, with WhatsApp, with everything, now everybody has become instantly communicator. And sometimes we had the system of spokesman. Why? All parties or all organizations.
But when you wrongly communicate, should you not pay a price?
No, what is the pay of price? You ask him.
Lose your job.
No, you ask him. Every time you commit
he
one
hasn't
mistake,
forgiven. He hasn't apologized.
No, but
there's
you ask
silence
him.
from him.
You ask him.
Okay. Does he owe Shah Rukh an apology?
You ask him.
Does he owe Shah Rukh an apology?
we are not today interviewing on Kailash Vijaywargiya's tweet because there were thousands of tweets appreciating Saul Khan also and giving other version also.
But won't you answer this
media
for me?
wants to pick up only cherry picking, only the sensational, and I am not falling into the trap of sensationalism.
I accept I'm cherry picking to the extent I'm concentrating for a moment on Kailash Vijaywargiya.
No, but I'm not.
Does he owe Shah Rukh an apology?
No, you can ask 10 times. My answer is very simple. You ask him.
Let me come to something else. We're talking of 500 people, not one. Remember, we're talking about people who are scholars, historians, artists, writers, scientists, filmmakers.
And there are thousands.
Arun Jaitley. Let me finish.
But this
Let me
500
finish.
list
Let me
is
finish.
not the final list of intellectuals
but
in the
let me
country.
Let me finish. Arun Jaitley, in a famous blog and then again on television, has said they are rabid anti-BJP elements. Now, is CNR Rao... Can I finish?
Don't you grant a view for a leader?
I grant the view, I respect the view, I honor the view. I will respect Arun's right to call whoever he wants rabid. I'm asking a different question. Is CNR Rao a Bharat Ratna rabid? Is Raghuram Rajan, the governor of the Reserve Bank, rabid? Is Narayan Murthy, the founder of Infosys, rabid? Because when he says they're all rabid, he's included.
You have to see the context. The context is this. If you ask question anybody, is the growing intolerance acceptable? Anybody will say no. So you have to see how somebody has reacted on a manufactured question or on a question asked or on his own with something different or has he signed some letter, what has happened. So I'll come out of it. Basic issue is, let us understand. So I always believe that we have a power of intellectual is so much that they are the conscious keeper of the nation.
Completely, I agree with you.
But that is what I'm saying. But as I said, there are not only 500 restricted entries into intellectual domain.
No, there are thousands, millions.
And many are silent and many are also protesting against those who are protesting. 1 minute. And many of the intellectuals are also countered and have raised questions on those who are raising now. Here.
Ji, sir.
No,
and
here.
let it be a battle between intellectuals.
Yeah.
Scientist versus scientist, historian versus historian, writer versus historian.
Agree.
Why is the government stepping in? Because
we are not. You can't ask both. You can't ask both. You are saying why government kept silent. Now you are asking why government is speaking.
No. I didn't ask ever why the government kept silent. I said why you're dismissing them as conspiracies and manipulated or manufactured.
No,
it's not your silence, it's your comments I'm questioning.
No.
It's Arun Jaitley's use of rabid I'm questioning.
Arun Jaitley is such our senior leader with wonderful articulation. When he speaks, means there is something.
That's the point. Arun Jaitley, as a lawyer, has been trained to use words carefully and precisely. As a politician, he knows the danger of using words loosely. Yet, he calls CNR Rao, Raghuram Rajan, Narayan Murthy rabid.
He has not said that.
He said they were all rabid.
No, he has said and he has mentioned what he wanted to mention. The issue here is current. Let us understand, because let us not deviate from the basic discussion. Country wants to know what happened in Dadri. What happened in Kalburgi, what happened in Dabholkar are the issues on which people are reacting. And Kalburgi is in Karnataka, Congress state, law and order. Dabholkar, my friend, was killed in Pune, my city, and was a Congress government. And Govind Pansare, he was also our colleague in jail. And he was communist, but we are friends. So Govind Pansare was killed. It is the BJP government who caught the culprit.
मैं आपकी बात मान रहा हूँ. मैं आपकी बात मान रहा हूँ. आप ये कह रहे हैं कि क्योंकि these things happened either under Congress-ruled governments or under a Samajwadi Party-ruled government, they should be responsible. But then, by that token, when rapes happen in Delhi and the Delhi police comes under you, should Mr. Modi and the central government be held responsible? The same logic applies both ways.
But I will tell you the answer both ways. First, the Dadri is these intellectuals would have been, they are honest people, but they would have been more forthcoming if they would have also said that we expect from central government this, but we condemn the lawlessness in Karnataka, and UP
So
and
is that
Maharashtra.
the problem, that that one sentence about Congress-ruled governments or Samajwadi Party-ruled governments was missing, and that absence of one sentence has turned you against them? Is that the problem?
No, because that is, then it becomes motivated.
Can I put this to you? A moment ago you said that intellectuals, scientists, historians, writers are the conscience of the country, and I
Yes.
agree with you.
Yes.
Venkaiah Naidu says this is a conspiracy. Now you know and I know that intellectuals, writers, scholars are individual people. They lead lonely lives. When they speak, it is their conscience that is provoking them and motivating them. How can you call it a conspiracy? These people don't meet each
Sometimes
other. They're
intellectuals-
spread across the country.
Sometimes intellectuals or even judges have said it, that they got carried away by media propaganda. That's also one fact we must remember.
आप कह रहे हैं कि these intellectuals have got carried away by the media, that they don't have a capacity to judge for themselves?
No, I have said many judges have themselves said that they were also carried away by the media propaganda. They were describing the power of media.
मुझे एक चीज बताइएगा. I'm trying to pull back to get a big picture. I know that Prakash Javadekar, the man in front of me, hugely admires writers, authors, scientists. I know as a former spokesperson, you are very conscious of what words are used, what tone is used. But if you think back over the last 2 months, not you, but your colleagues have been combative and aggressive.
This is
You've
what I'm
ended
saying.
up making enemies of these people.
I'll tell you. I told my junior friend, who is new to this ministerial job, but he was asking me when people come and come with danda and ask questions.
You
what
mean
to
mic?
do.
You mean mic?
Danda means mic. So I said that every time you should not answer because question is put, unless you have something to convey. And you can just say, thank you, all the best, and go away.
आप एक बहुत होशियार चीज मुस्कुरा के कह रहे हैं. आप अपने मंत्रियों को कह रहे हैं कि हर बार आपके सामने कोई माइक डाले तो बोलने की जरूरत नहीं, काफी बार मुस्कुरा के चुप रहिएगा. In other words, some of your colleagues made the mistake of speaking and saying stupid things.
Because, no, I'll not use words exactly stupid, but articulation has a place, is a little art and science, and therefore sometimes.
और ये लोग अभी तक उस आर्ट और साइंस को सीखे नहीं.
See, everybody is not a spokesman. Everybody is not skilled in that way, and therefore people speak like they are speaking to friends.
So then the first lesson of the last 2 months is to say to MPs and ministers, please do not speak when you don't know. Please do not speak each
When
time
you
a
are not
mic.
authorized to do. And our meeting, our President Amit Shah has twice told in National Executive, those who are authorized to speak should speak, others should refrain from speaking. So we are very clear.
जावेद अख्तर साहब ने एक बार अपने कहानी में लिखा था, उनकी गाने में, कुछ ना कहो. That is your advice to your ministers. कुछ ना कहो.
जिनको बोलना जरूरी है वो जरूर बोलेंगे, जिनको मालूम है और जिनको बताया है वो बोलेंगे, बाकी सबको बोलने की जरूरत नहीं है.
Javadekar Sahab, let's take a break at that point. When I come back, I want to come back to Rajnath Singh and that so-called invitation to talk, but this time I want to raise it with a critical difference. Welcome back. You're watching To The Point, and an interview with the Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar, one of the very few ministers in this government prepared to speak about both the rising mood of intolerance as well as the government's response. I want to come back at this point to the point you began with, this so-called invitation given by Rajnath Singh. It actually isn't an invitation, it was a comment made in the Economic Times, and he's actually failed to invite them. I want to read to you what C.N.R. Rao, not just one of India's greatest scientists, but one of the world's greatest scientists, and more importantly, a Bharat Ratna, said to the Economic Times. And once again, I'm quoting him, right? His exact words were, I think the Prime Minister should hold a dialogue with literators and scientists and all the other people talking about this issue rather than Rajnath Singh. Now, when a Bharat Ratna...
It's a good suggestion.
It's a good suggestion.
It's a good suggestion by C.N.R. Rao. And you be confident that Modi ji is so sensitive, and Modi ji always does things very in an appropriate manner at an appropriate time. So he always makes dialogue with all people. So there is no issue. But let me again say, there are two parts of it. C.N.R. Rao and people like him who are genuinely giving some suggestions is one part of the story. Other is the Congress, which is making farce of political protest.
Leave Congress out. I'm not bringing up Congress.
Yes.
I want to pick up on what you said, because not only was it surprising to me individually, it was very reassuring that you suggested the Prime Minister could respond and pick up on C.N.R. Rao's suggestion. You're actually saying there is a possibility. There is a possibility the PM may reach out to these people himself directly.
That only Prime Minister can say what
But you think it's a good idea?
But I have said that C.N.R. Rao has given a good suggestion.
It's a good suggestion.
But at the same time, the latest incidences which are being quoted as instances of intolerance is not the creation of the central government or the BJP. It is the creation of a political opponent who are desperate, frustrated, and who are out to vilify and defend the government.
I want to come back to what you called a good suggestion. I want to build on that idea, because there is a small opening for the future. I want to remind you of what the Prime Minister said in Amravati just a few days ago. In his speech to Lakhs, he said that he applauded Chandrababu Naidu for going to the house of Chandrasekhar Rao and personally inviting him to the groundbreaking ceremony. And the Prime Minister said, this is the sort of human gesture that changes politics.
Yes.
That same example the Prime Minister could use to reach out to these hurt intellectuals, authors, writers. The same gesture would work wonders.
I'll tell you, Karan, but you have seen in Parliament also, or on any important issue, he immediately first calls all leaders of opposition and opposition party leaders. At the same time, even in Parliament when he comes, he does namaskar to all of us when he comes, but immediately goes to the front benches and talks to all of us.
मैं आपकी बात मानता हूं, लेकिन पार्लियामेंट 2 या 3 हफ्ते के बाद ही मिलेगा. At the moment, 2 months have gone by. Concern about the situation is growing. We need to act immediately. Sadly, time is not on our side. I'm saying to you, you think it's a good suggestion from C.N.R. Rao. I'm saying to you, the Prime Minister set the example in Amravati himself. Why doesn't he today, tomorrow pick up the phone, call 10 or 15 and do it? You know, human relations change when one individual picks up the phone and in a soft and gentle voice reaches out. The dunya can change. The PM has that capacity to change the mood.
But that is what Narendra Modi does it always.
But this time,
that is what I'm saying. This time, the whole debate got vitiated because we were blamed for not the blame for which we are not responsible. But we were actually sympathetic to the cause and we were asking the state government to take action.
If only you had shown your sympathy more and your anger less, the response would have been different. आपका गुस्सा निकला वेंकैया जी के माउथ से, अरुण जी के माउथ से, वो सिंपैथी मैं आपसे सुन रहा हूं, उनसे मैंने अभी तक सुनी नहीं.
नहीं, अरुण जी and वेंकैया जी reacted to a situation, and also they are also senior leaders, that they know what they are speaking. They don't speak.
But they didn't speak advisedly, they didn't use their words carefully, and I bet, although I can't guarantee it, I bet Arun Jaitley regrets that phrase, rabid anti-BJP elements. He may never say it in public, he's a proud man, but I will bet to you that he would regret it.
He referred to very few people who
I wish he said very few. I wish he said very few. He called them all. He used a blanket term for everyone.
No.
मैं एक और चीज आपसे पूछूंगा. In India, the Prime Minister is not just a political leader. In India, we view our Prime Minister as a man who gives moral guidance to the country. And when something has shaken the conscience of the country, you look to the Prime Minister to enunciate a moral standing point around which the country can rally. At this time, India is looking to Mr. Modi for that lead. उनकी खामोशी इस समय गलत है.
खामोशी नहीं है. He said it and he articulated it so nicely even during election campaign that हमारे देश में हिंदू मुस्लिम आपस में झगड़ने के बजाय दोनों मिलकर गरीबी से लड़े.
लेकिन वो झगड़ रहे नहीं थे.
एक मिनट
बेचारा अखलाक झगड़ रहा नहीं था, किसी ने उस पे झगड़ा किया था.
But let me tell you, where is the issue of BJP or central government in Dadri?
But who says BJP is involved? मैं तो नहीं कह रहा. मैं तो नहीं कह रहा. मैं आपको कुछ और कह रहा हूँ. नहीं सर.
Was the most worst heinous crime.
सर, मैं कुछ और कह रहा हूँ. मैं नहीं कह रहा BJP was involved. I'm not saying BJP is involved.
Lynching of a person on the issue of food, because food is a personal choice, and secondly, important, law of the land, everybody has to follow. These are the two counters in which we act.
And I applaud you for saying it's unacceptable, but I'm not accusing BJP in any way of Dadri. I'm saying something else. Dadri was so horrible, I would have hoped the Prime Minister, quietly, not publicly, would have picked up the phone and rung Akhlaq's wife to share hamdardi, to share sorrow, to say, I'm really terribly sorry. That small human gesture he didn't do. Yet, Navjot Singh Sidhu की बीमारी के बारे में ट्वीट करते हैं.
Why you didn't ask this question to
अखिलेश जी?
He is directly responsible.
अखिलेश जी मुझे इंटरव्यू नहीं दे रहे, नहीं तो मैं पूछूं.
तो नहीं देंगे और आप पूछेंगे भी नहीं. That is the fallacy. That is the problem in this country.
लेकिन अगर वो नहीं देंगे तो मैं पूछूं कैसे? अगर वो नहीं देंगे तो मैं पूछूं कैसे?
Intellectual discourse in this country becomes lopsided, that then it doesn't remain intellectual discourse.
I agree with you there. And unfortunately, most of the discourse in our country is not intellectual, it's polemical, it's problematic, and usually it's a shouting match. That's why I don't want to quarrel with you. I want to put to you something else. I want to ask you, these last 2 months have been troubling for all of us. I'm not saying who's to blame and who's responsible, but it's been troubling for the nation as a whole. When the BJP was elected in 2014, it was with enormous hope and expectation. We all thought a new book is opening, not just a chapter, a new book. Has that image suffered, or do you believe this is only a concern of English, urban, middle-class India?
No, it is even not a concern of English, urban, middle-class even, because the new book chapter has already been opened. People have continued hope in leadership of Narendra Modi, and you will see it in Bihar and elsewhere also. You are witnessing every day the way people are responding. More importantly, what has happened is the way government has started functioning in different sectors has hurt the vested interests which were nurtured by Congress for years together, and therefore there is reaction.
You began by saying the new chapter, the new book has opened.
Yes.
When you
and
look,
it is 125 crore Indians.
जी,
there is no caste.
सवाल खत्म
there
करने
is no
दीजिए.
creed.
सवाल
there is
खत्म
no
करने दीजिए.
religion.
मेरा सवाल खत्म करने दीजिए. You began by saying the new book, the new chapter is open. And certainly when the Prime Minister travels abroad and he's inviting people to invest and to make in India, people thought genuinely something was happening.
Yes.
And then what's happened in the last 2-3 weeks? Major papers like the New York Times and the Financial Times have written not just long but deeply disturbing and worrying articles about the new mood of intolerance. Moody's Analytics has formally warned your government that this could have an adverse impact on investment, on growth, on development. And I ask you, internationally, is this chapter not opening? Is it closing?
No. Actually, world is not what Moody has said, because they also base their many judgments or many remarks based on the perception by media also.
मैं मानता हूँ, but the world listens to Moody's. That's
but
the
let
problem.
Me say, but world listens to the real fact also. We are not Middle East. We are not a crisis ridden. Here is not a case of intolerance where the country is getting deeply divided. No way. We are 125 crore moving in one direction of progress. People, poor people have aspirations for education, skilling and jobs, and that's what we are delivering.
You say we're not the Middle East. Internationally, the world will have seen a BJP General Secretary calling perhaps India's greatest film star of the day, Shah Rukh Khan, who happens to be a Muslim, anti-national and a Pakistani agent because he said religious intolerance is a crime and a patriot. And nothing happens to Vijay Varghya whatsoever. He continues in his job. And what will people conclude?
No.
That the BJP doesn't seem to worry.
See, because people also see many things happening in the country where nobody is reacting, where the Christian missionary, their hands are chopped off by fanatic organization, and nobody speaks of a sympathetic word to the Christian missionary. Then nobody is talking about a pujari killed in Karnataka because he was protecting the law.
And we could go all the way back to Graham Stain going tit for tat, tit
No,
for tat.
this is not
So
tit
let's
for tat.
not get into this
I
game.
gave only
So
two
let's not
examples.
go into this game.
I gave only two. See,
मैं एक आखिरी सवाल पूछना चाहता हूँ.
I believe in honest intellectual discourse which condemns all instances of intolerance. If you are picking some instances of intolerance and blaming with somebody who is not to be blamed.
What about the former chairman of the Shivoga Council in Bangalore who said publicly of Siddamaraiah only yesterday that we will behead him if he eats beef? He's a BJP former civil councillor. He will behead the chief minister if the chief minister eats beef.
That is why I am saying.
Do you condemn that?
That is what I am saying. On the first day of this beef controversy, many channels took my reaction and I gave it only 2 sentences. That food is a personal choice and law of the land has to be observed. Nobody showed it because media wants to
मैं आपसे एक
sensational things.
पर्सनल सवाल पूछूं?
जी,
मैं आपके सामने बैठा हूं.
जी.
I've known you a long time.
Yeah.
I consider you a friend. If I were to eat beef, would you condemn me?
Why? It's your choice.
I'm delighted to hear that. One last question before I end this interview. For many, Mr. Modi, when he was elected, won 282 seats, brought the BJP to its biggest and first ever majority of that size, was regarded as an icon. Today, has his image suffered?
No. Actually, Modi ji's image has increased not all over the world, but within country also. Those who have not voted BJP in Lok Sabha poll are getting fans of Narendra Modi because people think we have got first time an active, alert, agile and taking decisions, a prime minister who leads from the front, and कोई individual कुछ भी नहीं है कि जिसके लिए वो कुछ compromise करे.
Prakash Javadekar, you've earned the right to have the last word. All I'm going to add is, once again, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I applaud you for being a minister who answers every question, no matter how difficult, no matter how awkward, and no matter how inopportune the time. If only your other colleagues in government would learn from you, you could actually change the way your government is viewed. Tell them, silence in the face of adversity is not wise politics.
No, but we learn from each episode. And my lesson for this is right message at right time is what we will attempt and do.
And will you share that lesson with your colleagues in government?
I always share with my colleagues.
A pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.